Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. Let's continue. So we need a Paladin, a Warrior victory, and a Priest or Warlock victory. I think we're going to go to Casual now. We're on our third recording. Go to Wild. Let's start with Warrior and play. So, public service announcement. See a dentist every once in a while. I recently just went to a dentist, and part of my fear as a YouTuber was that I was going to go in the dentist. They were going to tell me I had all kinds of like cavities and surgery needed, and then I was going to be like unable to record anymore that day. Now, as it was, I probably didn't record anything that day anyways, but that's simply because of bad time management skills. They didn't do anything. There was nothing wrong with my teeth. I haven't been to a dentist in several years, but I knew I wasn't going to be to a dentist in several years because I kept taking temporary jobs or jobs that turned out to be temporary regardless of whether they said they were temporary at the beginning or not, which is its own irritants. Like, temp agencies will tell you that there's a chance to get hired permanently. There's no chance at all. Almost certainly. They'll lie to you straight to your face, temp agencies, and a lot of things. But if you need a job and you take a job, I guess, then you have to balance that out. Often I would say don't work with temp agencies and don't take those jobs. But that's a hard thing. Anyways, so I knew I wasn't going to have dental. In fact, I don't think even when I was working full-time for well over 5 years at the same company, I ever bothered to take the dental plan because it wasn't worth the money. So I hadn't been to a dentist in a while, but I knew that, so I made an extra effort to brush my teeth at least twice daily. Usually I brush my teeth like 3 times daily, and brush them properly, not too hard, not getting scraping off enamel on the teeth. And I'm gonna get off this topic pretty soon here if this is gross, but
don't worry, loves, the cavalry's here.
Oh man, I missed an attack there, darn it. But even when I went, they took all new x-rays and they said, well, you've only had 2 cavities in your life, which is pretty good. I wish it was 0 cavities. Apparently they have new fillings that look white, while I have the old-fashioned amalgam fillings that are metal looking and apparently have toxic metals in them, but they're only a problem if as you're putting them in and as you're taking them out, so pulling them out and all of that is not really worth the effort. But definitely have tartar. Definitely can feel my teeth are nicely clean now. They got a fluoride varnish thing that I'm not sure actually did anything, but it was only 20 bucks, so oh well. Let's play this. And then this. Ah, can't be killed. Nice. That was a nice trick, though. So, yeah. Now, personal opinion here, and everybody's teeth is different. If you have a lot of trouble with your teeth, go when the dentist suggests. My personal opinion, though, is that they want you to go to a dentist a little too often. I'd say once a year is fine. They want once every 6 months. I'd say even going once every 2 years is probably alright if you're really, really careful. But you may end up paying for these gambles long into your future. It may be 10, 20 years later, and that is true for me too. My attempts there, I certainly haven't been to a doctor in many, many years also, but why go to a doctor if you're healthy? Or mostly healthy at least. So, but do take care of your teeth. you only get 2 sets, your baby teeth and your adult teeth. And sometimes some people have third sets, but those are rarities, not a guarantee. Moving on, though. That's enough about teeth. But take care of yourself, if you can. Let's see. Looks like I'm going to increase.
To Northrend!
There we go. Victory. This is strange that I got a victory here. Particularly since I've only played this according to Hearthstone deck track, I've only played this deck 3 times and lost twice. Maybe that is part of the problem, is that I am not giving these decks enough of a fair shake, because now we have 18 different decks to play between. That might explain why I'm so down on them all the time. But frankly, Hearthstone just gives me every opportunity to be down on every bit of it. Speaking of down, here's a bad transition. The SEC is a down with Fig having non-accredited investors now. So the SEC approved Fig for non-accredited investors. That's a lot of words. Let's break this down. The Security and Exchange Commission has approved Fig, a Kickstarter-like program that is only for video games and is run mostly by a board of the Double Fine owner and some of his friends, and it is where they kickstarted in their own way Psychonauts 2, and they really haven't done many of the other things, because the whole organization is there's only going to be 1 or 2 games that are even presented for support per month. So I don't know if any of the other ones, how many games are there. I do know that there's this make sale game that they have been, that just got kind of out there, which it looks kind of like Wind Waker, and it has a cool art look. This make sale game does, but in reality, it looks like there's no game there. It is a randomly generated world of islands and a few sea monsters, although only in the trailer you see 1 sea monster that looks like that might be the Ender Dragon of the whole it's not a dragon, it's a giant like sea slug thing, but that might be the boss battle for the whole game that you would constantly run into in every world. And then you have a construction to build different sailboats and sail around, and they can be broken, and you have to deal with that. And
tonight, a tale of terrible tragedy.
I love the art style on it, but it just looks like there's no game at all there, and that's all I can say about it. Really, it seems like they've checked off so many boxes of what they think they're gonna make, but without a better story, without any new concept of gameplay. It's like, what can I even say?
Forward!
This guy has Wind Fury. Do I kill this guy now? I guess I have to.
On with the show!
I guess that was the right move. Yep. So we already talked about Ubisoft maintaining its independence. There was several things there about that. Now, as far as the non-accredited investors, that means people who don't have over $1 million of income. If I remember this correctly, it's like to be an accredited investor, you have to make over $1 million like a year, or you have to have $10,000 in extra cash or more lying around that you can prove, and you have to fill out all kinds of forms and stuff. Clearly the accreditation system is designed to stop bubbles from happening, stop people from
Safety restrictions
getting
online.
scammed or tricked
Harvesting
into
servos
donating their life
engaged.
savings into things that are highly risky things like making a video game. Now, I think on Fig, the way it was set up, and this is back when they first started, which was only about 6 months ago, the idea was that they get the money no matter what, but if you are an accredited investor, you will get a small percentage back, which is actually not as good of a return as what you normally would get if you went and invested somewhere else. So now if you're going to come in as a small investment, you'll be able to get small amounts of money back, but it's still incredibly dangerous. It is gambling 101, that's all it is. You need to completely realize that it's gambling. You may be very well, I think you put the money up and they take it. Let's see. 6. Now, this one.
For honor.
This one. And this one. And this one. So that puts us down to, we're almost out of things to talk about, oddly enough. I thought I would go all the way here, but not. Apparently Amazon.com has a video game branch somewhere, and they're working on a game called Breakaway, which is supposed to be this esports game. Which, okay, cool.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
So, this esports thing doesn't really mean anything right now, but there might be a new game on the horizon to take on Overwatch, which, I don't know. I think esports are blown out, really. I don't think they're as important a thing as you would think. And people are trying to make an industry of it and trying to do a lot of things there that I don't think are going to really succeed. Let's try this.
Undone will be ours. All realities, all dimensions are open.
Giddy up!
Let's see if I do 2, 4, and then 3 more. That would be 7. Let's just end our turn. I gotta figure out a way to kill this guy though. So, a weird game has come out. It is a slash wrestling fighting simulation, like masked wrestling thing, but it's also a visual novel, and oddly, let's see, this one's always that way, this one's always that way. So if I go something like this,
May the
this guy,
serpent guide you.
by the way, what more do I want? This,
Simple.
this, this.
I must choose.
The lower walker chose whenever you play cast a spell, put a copy in the other player's hand. Good, that'll help. So So this game called Honey Rose has been released, and as far as Steam is concerned, it's released as a demo, but it's the whole game. But then there's several DLC things you can get that would then give you absolutely nothing, and this is the weirdness of it.
Honor.
But that's how you pay for it, if you want to. So it's a free-to-play, effectively, game. Just totally free. But there are like
There is a lot at
6 tiers of DLC to give you nothing to pay. And the first DLC is like 99 cents, which is probably the cheapest DLC you would ever get by default. What would be funny is if this game ever went on sale and then those DLC pieces were cheaper. But I suspect they probably made arrangements so that that won't happen.
Well played.
Yeah, I'm about to lose. So that is an interesting idea. Now, I want to really think about that in the world of Steam. Steam Greenlight. Unfortunately, Jim Sterling is the only person I know of that just goes through all the Steam stuff as his co-optional podcast. At the end, kind of covers things that are about to come out, but not to any effective extent. They just kind of mention games, and it's somewhat helpful for them to go through a week's worth of games on Steam. Otherwise, the only other places I get them from the few video game review websites I follow on Twitter. So my information I'm getting is super great. And sometimes I'll see some games from that are on IndieCade because I follow that, and that's nice. But if they're not on Steam, if they're not to that point, I can't really put them into my system of following games that are coming out or wishlisting games that look at least slightly interesting. I was thinking about getting Honey Rose and just playing it recently. I'm working on trying to make a no violence November month, which having 2 theme months back to back is a little weird, but also I think it's a nice way to kind of balance out just the non-stop horror and violence that is the entire month of October and will be every month of October, because that makes sense. So I'm playing like Regency Solitaire right now, and I'm trying to play it right before I go to sleep and totally mentally handicapping myself there, where I'm missing moves and I'm just like, oh, this is bad. I'm not playing very well, and this is a simple solitaire game, and I'm not even playing that well. So it wouldn't completely be a no violence November if I was playing a fighting wrestling game, but it might fit, and if it's a free game and it's new, there is an argument towards that, to making that improvement and covering something new, see if I get some more views before anybody else covers it. Sadly, I don't think I could really budget to give DLC to the thing. This is inherently the problem, is that when you look at Steam with its potential, I think it's around 4,000 pieces of software and games. When you look at that, even though maybe 3,000 of those are games you'd never want to play in your life, I have over 500 here on mine that I'm totally want to play, so that's not completely beyond the realm that that a game that's free would be drowned out, or a game that's asking for donations wouldn't get those donations. I did recently get Pinball FX 2. Almost all the DLC on that was on sale for 75% off, and I don't think you're going to get a better deal on that. So now, at some point in the future, I can start doing a series where every episode was just an hour of me playing a different Pinball FX table and putting that out. I think that might be a potential replacement for the kids stuff once we run out of kids stuff, whenever we run out of stuff, I guess. Technically, I have all of the other kids games that I was gonna play at some point too, but I may not ever get to it. The humongous games from like Putt Putt and Something the Bear, really early kid games. Speaking of really early weirdness, I heard that there's these, talking about the history, I heard there's these things they sometimes put in kids' mouths who suck their thumbs. They're kind of like spikes that poke their thumbs, not stab them so they're bleeding or anything, but make it uncomfortable, certainly, to suck their thumbs. To, I suppose there's a reason for it. It's not just general cruelty, but they don't want them ruining their jawline and their teeth by sucking the thing. But man, does that seem like an extreme thing to have to do. It basically looks like a weird torture device. Things. There's many different models, and I saw an article when I looked up the picture. It's like, oh, this kid nearly died from one of these. But to get back to Henry Rose, maybe I will cover it, maybe I won't. I probably will cover it at some point. It's still very difficult to get free games to stay in your Steam library, and I don't know how to keep them in there, because they disappear as soon as you uninstall them if they're free demos or something like that. So how I keep that on my list seems like a problem. Now, maybe with the Steam UI interface update, whenever that comes about, that will help with that. The game itself looks like alright. It is a visual novel, but not a Japanese visual novel.
One shot.
If I'm gonna try to start covering visual novels, having one that is not Japanese isn't gonna be a very long, based on a light novel book, is probably a good idea. This one looked like it essentially was gonna have less dialogue because it has that other gameplay system. Now, I don't think they're going to make very much money, though, in the DLC. But they may make money on the trading cards. They may make money on some other scam. I mean, that's why there's so much garbage on Steam already, is because people go crazy for those trading cards and do all that. I think today is the last day to get Headlander for 33% off. I think I'm going to skip that too. While I would like to have Headlander, it's not really a prerogative for me to spend the 33% off the maximum price of it, since it just came out. And it's now old hat. If I was going to play it brand new, I should play it brand new, not a week or two later, or 3 or 4 or 5 weeks later, however long it has actually been.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
So
Giddy up!
that is a concern. I hope Honey Rose works. I hope this concept would be encouraged by Valve, because there really is nothing wrong with putting free games on Steam although Steam is already full of bad games, and if this is just another avenue for bad games to
Safety
get on Steam,
restrictions offline.
nobody really wants
Harvesting
that. But then
servos engaged.
there are good games out there, good free games. That are either too short or they just don't want to make any money on it for maybe advertising reasons. So, speaking of Japanese and light visual novel style long games, Princess Maker 2, the sorta infamous princess raising life sim game, is coming out as a remaster on Steam,
A tale
which
of long lost world.
that is something incredibly
Job's done.
random remake to be released. It certainly is unexpected, but it is very intriguing. Now, the only real reason that Princess Maker 2 is infamous is because it came to America and it had a cheat where you could see your daughter, who you're raising as a princess, which I don't even know if you're actually the daughter or a butler or what, but the girl you're in charge of, you can see her, I believe, naked, but I'm not even sure if it was fully naked. It may have just been without a shirt. And the daughter is starts at like age 10 and goes to age 17. And through a cheat, you could see that. Also, in the game, you're deciding how she lives her life, so you can
Runs out on me.
up her sin scale and suggest she go out drinking and partying, or you can up her faith scale and I think send her to effectively pray. And in the games, you also do some wild things where you fight
I am
demons
freed from the curse.
and all. So all those things
Overdrive.
do exist, but that wasn't the real reason for the game. The reason for the game is to run this sim of raising the girl, and so I could certainly play it. And with the remaster, then there's more reason why you would want to play it. It might be too long of a game to actually play. And there have been plenty of other Princess Makers. I think they're up to 4 or 5, but none of the other ones came. This game was a like 93 DOS game, so it's right up there with like Leisure Suit Larry, where the graphics weren't very good anyways, and you didn't have connection to the internet. Most people didn't. So, that the ability to see any nudity on the internet
Blade.
kind of was a but yeah, it really wasn't a big deal. It hardly was one of the many adults only games that Japan makes still to this day, yet now even bothered to come to America. And this is one of the things that they've made a Steam version of just adult only games, which something like Steam adult only games, but I don't know how big that's going to succeed. It's not involved with Valve and it's not Steam related. I think Steam would do fine to have an adults only section where you had to push a button and log into your account to see those things, just like a Google Save search. I think Steam, it would be fine to release those games. Right now, Steam says you can't release those games, or they're going to release them only through stringent approval. So if the remaster even has the ability for that cheat, it went through some approval.
Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be
And
mine.
it's important to realize that the game literally just has the girl standing in front of you stationary. There's no movement, no actions at all. So you're seeing basically an anatomical book that you would see a lot more looking in an anatomical biology book than anything else.
The legions I command.
I'm sure many a young boy was interested in seeing that because they're certainly interested in seeing the things that they're often told they're not allowed to see, but it's hardly a sex game. It is much better than that and should be focused on as the parenting sim that it is, which is not a genre that has been done very much in the video game industry. Who's Your Daddy, for example, is a game that recently came out, and it's sort of a parenting sim, but only in the least realistic way, because there's a baby running around trying to kill itself, and you're competing against other players. One person is the parent, one person is the baby, and can the parent keep the baby alive for a certain amount of time while the baby is crawling around eating batteries and drinking bleach and sticking forks in outlets. Hardly a realistic parenting sim. While those are risks to try to avoid, that's not like reading to your kids, that's not swaddling, that's not changing diapers, that's not doing anything like that at all.
For the king!
Excuse me. I've been talking too long. Going for an hour and a half straight on this is probably a mistake. I should force myself to take breaks after an hour always, and when I do that, then I just fall further and further behind, which I am going to do here, and so I'm going to end up recording, playing more after this recording, certainly.
Are you my master?
The other fact on Princess Maker is they skip all the real babying stuff. They start at a 10 or 12-year-old girl, so she can speak, she can eat, she can do everything, basically. This is more about raising them in your own idea. You can have them take art classes, you can have them learn music, you can have them go out adventuring, you can have them study. So it is very much like The Sims.
You love my
more than
recipe.
any other game, I guess. It's just that instead of The Sims, which try to be mostly realistic when you're playing it correctly, which very few people do, it is a little unrealistic because you know that this is a princess and that's what you're raising her to be, but what kind of princess, you don't know, because there is a full demonic princess ending. I believe there's a full angel princess ending. Playing that game over and over again would be very time intensive, but an interesting retrospective to look back on, because these were also the style of games that had to be made back in that day, because they had to be replayable, they had to use very few video and audio assets, so it is just still images and probably just some MIDI music. If I don't remember, but I would almost certainly guess it's just some simple MIDI music playing. It had to heavily rely on telling an interesting and intriguing story that players would want to go back and play over and over again. And then the nudity cheat is thrown in because, frankly, Japanese producers of video games know that there are some people that want to see that, and they're trying to make as many sales as possible. That's just it. Same as the GTA hot coffee mod stuff. Is somebody puts it in as a joke, or somebody knows that it might be funny to show their friends, or
For honor.
it might sell one more copy. So
For the gnomes!
a lack of restraint, perhaps, is arguably involved in there, and they don't think it's a big deal in Japan for nudity, and since that's all it really is nudity, that would be about it. So it's unfairly notorious, a game, really. If anybody remembers it, they're going to remember for that element, when they should remember for a Sims element. Not
The
very many
truth is
Sims
in
games
here.
besides The Sims, until you're doing like Planet Coaster or Roller Coaster Tycoon or Project High Rise, where you're building like, parks or you're building buildings. But a life sim game, very few of those. But also not particularly one of my main interests.
All realities, all dimensions.
So that's a difficult one to decide to cover. I kind of want to cover it for its historical nature, because it was definitely one of them out there. I certainly played it when it first, at some point after it came out, and so floating around the internet, back when the internet was small. Nowadays a game like that would just be some Steam greenlight thing. There is a Steam game that is similar, and that was one of the best things I've seen about reading any news article, is that somebody said, this game sounds like this game, and then I can go and click on this game and I'm like, oh, so somebody actually copied Princess Maker, the concept, fine, that's a fine to do, and now this guy is thinking that this game is actually copying that game, when actually it's the exact opposite. But that's okay, because now there's two games, and comparing two games is a thing I like to do. I like to play, this is this game done by this people, and this is that same game getting ripped off by another people, and they did it better here, here, and here. One interesting comparison I could make is there are about 5 games on Steam with Call of Cthulhu in it. So I could do a nice series in which I just played, well, here's this game called Call of Cthulhu. Here's this game called Call of Cthulhu Overwatch. Here's this game called Call of Cthulhu Nightbringer. I don't think any of those are the right names, but they're all very different games, but they have some idea of having Cthulhu in them, and because of that, they're all using that phrase. And if I search just the word Cthulhu, I bet I could get it up to 10 or 11 games that have Cthulhu in the name. Now that is a pretty silly reason to make a series. I will admit that. It would be a stretch, definitely. But if I've got no other way to thematically connect games, or just a bunch of games I want to cover, or if I've got an opening somewhere, it really seems like I'd probably do something like that after I've covered a lot more of the big name things and the things getting remastered, things that have some relevancy. Again, my channel doesn't get a lot of views, partially because I'm always covering games that I just got cheap, instead of games that are getting remasters or anything like that. So from that perspective, I'm hoping the remasters of BioShock and BioShock 2 help. I don't see myself playing BioShock Infinite remastered. I don't even know if it really is remastered. It kind of sucks that BioShock 2 also doesn't have any director's commentary, so that too added. There was really very little added to the remaster of the second game, just a second attempt to get all of the achievements if you play it on the harder difficulty with the respawn chambers, which I would never do that. You don't have to do both of those achievements at the same time, but that would be a problem to get either one of them. So, anywho, we've gone 40 minutes, and somebody has commented. Let's see. I'm getting a lot of spam emails here. Let's see. Yep, spam email. The Creator Studio app on my phone does not work to report spam, but I am flagging a lot of people that spam. If you come at me and you say, "Where's your business email?" or "Oh, I love it. Here's a HTTP link to a YouTube video," or "Here's a link to that one was to an Amazon.com link." It's like, oh, so you're just spamming. Anytime you put a link on there and you haven't fully explained to me an excellent reason why I should click on this link or allow it in any of my comments, that's spam. And it's pretty obvious. Even people that say, "I want to make a business thing," or "I want you to join this partnership on YouTube," that's spam too. I'm not interested. I've never shown any interest, and so they get flagged. But the fact that I'm getting more spam means I'm getting more views, and that's good. Alright, anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe. I'll get the rest of this done off screen. Comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right, there's a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.